Andrew Charlie Stander was a South African criminal and a policeman, one of the most infamous bank robbers in South Africa's history. Stander was notorious for the manner with which he carried out his crimes. He sometimes carried out the crime on his lunch break, often returning to the scene as an investigating officer. In 1977, Stander flew to Durban and robbed his first bank. Between 1977 and 1980, he believed is to have stolen nearly 100 rand. After robbing nearly 30 banks, Stander was arrested and sentenced to 75 years in prison on 6th May 1980. However, since many of the charges in the sentence ran concurrently, he faced an actual sentence of 17 years. Standard met Alan Hell and Lima Call at Zonderwater Maximum Security Prison Standard Gang. On 11th August 1983, Stander and MC Call, along with 5 other inmates, were taken from the prison's premises for physiotherapy appointment. Once the prisoners were left alone with the physiotherapist, Stander and MC Call overpowered her and escaped. The prisoners refused to participate and stay behind. Stander and MC Call returned to Zonderwater on 31st October 1983 in order to spring Alan Hele from the faculty where he was taking a trade test. From that day until the end of January 1984, the three began robbing banks together under the Nom de Guru of the Stander Gang, a term coined by news media. MC Kikal was killed on 30 January 1984 in a police raid on the gang's hideout in Hongestan Estate. Hela fled to Greece, then England, then Spain, and eventually back to England, where he was caught, tried, and sentenced to 9 years in prison for robbery and related firearms charge. After serving his time in the UK, he was extracted back to South Africa, where he was sentenced to further 33 years in prison. Hela was released on parole on 18th May 2005 while police were closing in on MC Call in South Africa. Stander had been in Florida trying to arrange for the sale of the gang's recently purchased sailing yacht, the Lily Rose, that they purchased, planning to use their final gateway once they had acquired enough money. While Stander remained in United States, international arrest warrants and all-point bulletins were issued for his arrest. Trying to make the best of the situations, Stander created the false identity of an Australian author named Peter Harris and forged a driver's license. Afterwards, he visited a used car lot and purchased Ford from a dealer named Anthony Tomasello. On 10th Feb 1984, police pulled Stander over while he was driving and arrested him for driving an unregistered vehicle, being relatively unknown to the American authorities at the time. Stander presented his false ID to the police, who recognized it as a forgery and subsequently seized it, adding driving license forgery to his list of offenses, but believed his story about his identity and realized him. Once released on the same evening, Stander returned to the police impound lot where he was seized. Mustang was being kept, broke in and stole the car. On the following morning, Stander returned to the same used car lot where he had purchased the vehicle and asked the same dealer, Tomasello, to have the car repainted in a different color. However, Tomasello had just read about Stander gang in local newspaper. He told Stander that he would help him, got his information, and as soon as Standard had left, Tomasolo called his lawyer. On his lawyer's advice, Tomasolo called the local police. Based on the Tomasolo information, a police tactical unit surrounded the apartment that Standard had been using as a hideout, but Standard was not there. With Thomas, he had acquired a bicycle to use while his car was with Tomasolo to be repainted. He had left the apartment on the bicycle and returned only after the police had surrounded it. As he unknowingly rode up to the apartment complex, Officer Michael Van, who had been posted on the perimeter, recognized Standard and attempted to stop him. Standard tried to get away, but Stintina prevented his escape. A struggle for the officer shotgun began. The gun discharged and Standard was hit. He fell on the apartment's complex driveway, bleeding profusely. Stetton immediately radioed for an ambulance. All three officers Stetton tried to administer first aid. Standard wounds were too extensive and he bled to death before an ambulance arrived. Please subscribe my channel and give me some support.